Welcome to datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
Imagine this, a retail pricing model that started undershooting discounts by a fraction of a percent. At first, it was invisible, a tiny drift in predictions. Then latency crept in during peak traffic. Features went stale after an ETL change. 2 weeks later, a promotion underperformed, and quarterly revenue slippage showed up on the CFO's dashboard. People blamed lots of things, but the board asked a simple question. Did we have a commitment we could point to? The team's answer was, not really. That gap between a promise of reliability and something you can measure and fund is exactly why we need SLOs for AI. I want to spend the next 20 minutes giving you a concise, decision-first playbook you can act on in the next 30 to 90 days. Here's my promise. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to commission a tight SLO pilot. Pick 3 to 5 meaningful SLIs, defined error budgets, and tie breaches to funding or remediation gates that your board can understand. No engineering deep dive, just governance you can sign off on. In short, turn reliability talk into fundable commitments. From models to measurable value, that's the core idea. A quick word about how I think about this. Over years, working with enterprise AI teams, I've seen the same pattern. Technical owners build great models. Executives expect reliable outcomes, and nobody speaks the same language when things go sideways. SLOs are not a new invention. SREs have used them for services for years, but models and data introduce different failure modes: silent drift, feature staleness, label lag, and fairness regressions. Those are operational reliability problems that belong at the executive table because they affect revenue, risk, and trust. My perspective is simple. SLOs should be decision instruments, not a laundry list of engineering metrics. They should let you decide when to invest, pause, or escalate. Let's get the definitions straight. Plain English. An SLI, a service level indicator, is a measurable signal about model or data behavior. For example, prediction accuracy within a customer segment, API latency percentiles, or feature freshness. An SLO, a service-level objective, is a target you set on that indicator. For example, 95% of predictions must meet an acceptable accuracy band, or 99th percentile latency must be under 250 milliseconds. An error budget is the allowed room for violations, how much missed time or degradation you tolerate before taking action. Together, these let you say, we expect this model to meet X, we'll tolerate Y failures, and when Y is reached, we trigger Z decisions. Designing SLOs for models and data is a recipe, and it starts with one rule. Tie every SLI to a business impact. Don't measure for the sake of measuring. Step 1. Choose 3 to 5 SLIs that matter. Practical candidates are accuracy bands for high-value cohorts, latency windows for real-time services, freshness windows for features, and a fairness threshold for regulated use cases. Step 2. Set SLO targets and tolerances. Pick a realistic target and an error budget based on business risk. For a pricing engine, a target might be model accuracy within 1.5% of a validated baseline 99% of the time, with a monthly error budget of 2% of transactions. Step 3. Sampling cadence. Decide how often you measure and validate. Daily aggregates might be fine for many models. High-frequency services need minute-level signals. Finally, validate the measurement method before you commit to board reporting. Keep the initial set intentionally minimal so you can actually measure them reliably. Monitoring and alerting are where theory meets behavior. Build a minimal dashboard with 3 executive-friendly signals: current SLO attainment, current error budget consumption, and 1 leading indicator, for example, drift score or feature freshness. Avoid alarm fatigue by defining tiered alerts: a low-severity warning when you hit 50% of the error budget, a higher severity alert at 80% that requires a remediation plan, and an emergency gate at 100%. For each threshold, have a concise runbook. Who owns the triage? What temporary mitigations are allowed? Throttling, reverting a feature, pausing a rollout, and when to escalate to the funding decision-makers. The language of the runbook should map directly to the decision you want the execs to make, not to engineers' debugging steps.
That leads to operational contracts and funding gates. SLOs shouldn't float in a doc. Bake them into procurement and vendor SLAs, into contracts with measurable clauses. Map breaches to funding actions, limited remediation runway, funded engineering sprints, or a temporary pause on feature expansion. Importantly, stage the possible actions so a breach doesn't automatically equal budget cuts. Instead, breaches should open a structured remediation path with predefined checkpoints, a 30-day fix window with funded resources, a board-level review at 60 days, and only after repeated failures would deeper funding changes be considered. This reduces the temptation for knee-jerk defunding and keeps focus on root cause and recovery.
When you report to boards and execs, simplify. Present 3 plain English KPIs. SLO attainment, what % of the time we met our objective. Error budget burn rate, how quickly we're consuming tolerance. And remediation readiness, are fixes funded and staffed. 1-page health summary, a red, amber, green posture. A short description of root cause when amber or red, and the next decision gate with recommended action. Boards want clarity and options. What will it cost to fix this? How long will it take? And what happens if we do nothing? Give them those options in simple terms.
Here's a prioritized 30-90-day pilot plan you can start with. Day 0 through 30, choose one high-value model, nominate an executive sponsor, and define 3 SLIs with measurement methods. Day 30 through 60, set SLO targets and error budgets, build the minimal dashboard, and run validation with historical data. Day 60 through 90, simulate breaches and test runbooks, finalize contract clauses, and prepare a board-ready 1-page health summary. I've prepared an executive SLO template and a 30-90-day playbook that includes example alert thresholds and a stakeholder map that's designed so you don't start from scratch.
Before we close, 3 executive actions to take this week. 1. Pick the pilot model and an executive sponsor. 2. Require a minimal SLO set, 3 to 5 SLIs, and insist on validated measurement. 3. Commit to a staged error budget and a remediation runway, so breaches trigger structured fixes, not immediate defunding. These are simple governance decisions that unlock accountability and funding where it matters.
If you want the templates and the 30-90-day playbook, go to datascience.show/SLO and download the Executive SLO template. Use it to brief your CFO or board next week. I'll repeat the closing thought because it matters. SLOs are decision instruments, not punitive measures. When you tie them to funding gates and remediation pathways, models become auditable services instead of brittle experiments. That's the difference between models and value.
Thanks for listening to datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.